We always thank the tree too before we take it because we're going to use it. And when we cut it, we sometimes do a ceremony. We're going to do a blessing on it so it finds a new home. It's leaving the country where it came from. When we have the pole raising, it's a special day because that's the first time they're going to see it standing as a tree again. And well, that's a special day, and a special day for us, for our people. Because when it stands again, it represents our culture, our art, and our people, and our land too. And that's why it's important.
The only colors that they do are the red and the black and the dark blue. I'm gonna come back every year, and when I do, I'm gonna try to take the opportunity to work with my grandpa and learn the ways of our culture and our art.
And I knew that she was a good person and a good collector, and she had a good eye, and she knew art, and she knew what she liked too. You know, the old pieces that she bought, they were really great pieces. And some of those pieces, if she didn't buy them, they'd be gone into the art world, all over the world. We'd never see them again. But what she did was she bought the old piece, the classic Northwest Coast pieces, and brought them back to where they belong. And that's a great legacy that she's going to leave, you know, because we could learn off of those things now. What she did gives us access, and it comes back to the coast where our students, when they go to Vancouver, they go and study it, and they have a chance to study it. And that's the great part of it, is that we have access again to it, and we can learn from it. We can learn from the old great masters of our people. And that's what she gave back to us.
Bonjour. Bonjour à tous. Hello. My name is Annie Gérin, and I will be your MC in just a few moments. While we wait for our virtual guests to join us, let's do a quick sound check for those at home. M'entendez-vous? If you experience any issues during the live stream of this event, let us know through the chat box, which will be monitored throughout. Thank you, and we'll be back momentarily. Good morning. Bonjour à tous. Welcome to this special event to celebrate a remarkable gesture of philanthropy by the Doggone Foundation. Je m'appelle Annie Gérin et j'ai l'honneur d'assurer les fonctions de doyenne de la Faculté des Beaux-Arts de Concordia. C'est un plaisir pour moi d'animer aujourd'hui cette séance spéciale hybride en personne et en ligne. Welcome to those who have joined our live stream and those gathered here in person in our wonderful fourth space. Il est d'usage à Concordia de commencer nos activités par un énoncé de reconnaissance territoriale. Recently, this has taken on added significance as we understand even more about the painful history of Indigenous peoples in Canada. We acknowledge that progress needs to be made. Je vous invite à suivre l'évolution du plan d'action sur les directions autochtones de Concordia, créé en partie pour répondre aux appels de la Commission de vérité et réconciliation. With this in mind, we acknowledge that Concordia's campuses are located on unceded Indigenous lands. La nation Kanien'kehá:ka est la gardienne des terres et des eaux où nous nous réunissons aujourd'hui. Le territoire Tiohtià:ke, Montréal, est historiquement connu comme un lieu de rassemblement pour de nombreuses Premières Nations. Today, Montreal is home to a diverse population of Indigenous and other peoples. We respect the continued connections with the past, present, and future in our ongoing relationship with Indigenous and other people on the Montreal community. Nous avons prévu pour vous aujourd'hui un événement formidable et le moment est venu de vous présenter nos conférenciers. Today, we celebrate philanthropy, a remarkable gift from the Doggone Foundation to the campaign to Concordia, Next Gen Now, our university's largest and most successful fundraising effort to date. This gift will facilitate and encourage invaluable learning opportunities for undergraduate and graduate students at Concordia's Faculty of Fine Arts. En raison des protocoles en vigueur liés à la COVID-19, des discours en direct et préenregistrés vous seront présentés. Commençons donc par un message en direct de Graham Carr, notre recteur et vice-chancelier. Veuillez accueillir chaleureusement notre recteur. Graham?
an important first step. Thank you, Annie, and welcome to everyone joining us online and to those here in person at the fourth space. Welcoming our generous friends from the Doggone Foundation is always a happy occasion, but I have to say it feels even more special today for all of us because some of our guests and colleagues are here in person, and Concordia's campuses are beginning to regain the spirit and energy for which we're known. In 2018, the Doggone Foundation supported Concordia with a remarkable $500,000 gift to create the Elspeth McConnell Fine Arts Awards. Ces bourses soutiennent chaque année 18 étudiantes et étudiants en beaux-arts qui achèvent le programme de premier cycle ou qui en sont à leur 12e année d'études supérieures. Uniques et audacieuses, ces bourses donnent à nos étudiantes et étudiants l'occasion de faire des stages dans des musées, des festivals culturels, des théâtres communautaires, des centres d'art autogérés, des coopératifs, des bibliothèques, des écoles et des centres de thérapie par les arts. Today, I'm extremely pleased to announce the Doggone Foundation is deepening their commitment to our students' future and to the Concordia community by making a new gift of $2 million. Paul and Susan, thank you very much for this generous gift. Today's gift means that in future, our Faculty of Fine Arts will be able to more than double the number of students who benefit from these $5,000 awards. Going forward, the Elspeth McConnell Fine Arts Awards will support 40 students per year until the end of this decade. Ces bourses permettront à plusieurs centaines de nos étudiantes et étudiants d'acquérir de nouvelles compétences et de développer leur réseau professionnel. Permettez-moi de vous donner un exemple de l'impact que ce type d'occasion peut avoir dans la vie d'une personne. Des 18 étudiantes et étudiants qui ont reçu une bourse Elspeth McConnell en Beaux-Arts dans le cadre de cette première cohorte de 2018, 12 ont été embauchés à titre permanent par l'organisation haute après leur stage. Ça, c'est remarquable. These internships align perfectly with Concordia's commitment to experiential learning. Our goal is that by 2025, every student, undergraduate or graduate, regardless of what program, will have at least one experiential learning opportunity, whether that's study abroad, co-op, or some other kind of internship before they graduate. It's a goal in which we believe deeply. We think it will give our students a leg up when they graduate and join the workforce, and we feel it will give Concordia a big leg up in recruiting exceptional talent. But it's a goal that can only be achieved through partnerships and collaboration. And it's obviously a goal which is easier to reach in some fields, such as engineering, business, or the sciences, where research internships and co-op stage have a long history. And that's why the Doggone Foundation's generosity is so important for us. This gift simultaneously helps students, it benefits our Faculty of Fine Arts, it advances a priority for our university, but it also provides wonderful support to cultural institutions and ultimately to society itself. You know, we talk about win-win. I think that's like win-win-win-win-win. I've lost track. It creates experiential learning opportunities in fields of fine arts where creativity and talent are never in short supply, but where paid internships are often very hard to come by. It offers cultural institutions access to a pool of talent they might not otherwise be able to afford. And in many cases, that discovery of talented Concordia students incentivizes arts and cultural organizations to find ways to hire them after graduation. Students are our best ambassadors, and it's through programs such as this that the university's reputation will continue to grow. This novel program of student support is also one more example of why our Faculty of Fine Arts, year in and year out, is ranked in the top 100 in the world. Today's gift also creates the new Bill McLennan Northwest Coast Travel Award, a $10,000 annual award. La bourse, qui rend hommage au conservateur Bill McLennan, permettra à une étudiante ou étudiant de se rendre en Colombie-Britannique pour étudier au Musée d'anthropologie de l'Université de Colombie-Britannique et y explorer en profondeur l'art et les cultures magnifiques des peuples autochtones de la côte nord-ouest. Northwest Indigenous art was a particular passion of Elspeth McConnell, who left her incredible collection to the UBC Museum. I must admit I'm a bit envious of the students who will earn that award, but that's another matter. In closing, let me just express again my deepest gratitude to the Doggone Foundation for their confidence in Concordia and for their generosity. Their total giving to the Campaign for Concordia is $2.5 million, which is absolutely phenomenal. It's nice to be part of a shared vision for society that values the importance of arts and culture and inspires students to pursue a lifetime of creativity. Merci encore et bonne journée. And Annie, back to you.
Merci beaucoup, Graham. I also want to give a shout out to our guests online who are writing in the chat and are thanking the Foundation for this magnificent gift. J'ai maintenant l'immense plaisir de vous présenter nos invités d'honneur. As Executive Director and Director of the Doggone Foundation, respectively, Paul Marchand and Susan Avon administer the Montreal-based charity established in 2012 by the late Elspeth McConnell. La Fondation Doggone a financé plusieurs causes d'envergure, notamment dans les domaines de la science, de la santé et des arts. Under Paul and Susan's stewardship, the Foundation has made transformative gifts to fund the likes of the McGill Transdisciplinary Initiative in Infection and Immunity and the Elspeth McConnell Mental Health and Wellness Center at the Montreal Jewish General Hospital. Ici, à Concordia, Paul et Susan ont honoré la passion pour les arts d'Elspeth McConnell pour la première fois en 2018, avec un don visant à encourager les étudiantes et étudiants inscrits à la Faculté des Beaux-Arts. We are honored to be joined by this distinguished representative of the Doggone Foundation today. Let's hear from our guests now, Paul and Susan.
Thank you very much, everybody. Very glad to be here. Je suis très, très heureux de vous adresser aujourd'hui et de dire des mots sur Elspeth. Malheureusement, vous ne la connaissiez pas, mais c'était très spécial. I'm really, in my former life, a solicitor, a lawyer, and a counselor. The story about Elspeth is a very interesting one, and the more that I think about it as we go through these difficult, hard, long times with a pandemic all around us, I realize that I'm not speaking so much about her or about me, but about our relationship together and about how that is the most important thing we can ever have, is to be relations with one another, to connect, because one never knows where things are going to go. Elspeth was, in many, many ways, a very ordinary person, born the daughter, the only child of teachers in Notre Dame de Grace in the beginning of the Depression. And from what I know, she didn't have a particularly great childhood. At that time, there were not a lot of routes open to women, but she became a journalist, a photographer, and worked for what was then a major Montreal newspaper, the Montreal Star Group, and worked in Toronto and Montreal on that side of things in a very ordinary life. Well, life can change, and for her, it did. At one point, her boss, J.G. McConnell, many years older than her, came to work more and more with her, and they were married, and her life changed incredibly. Few of you here are old enough to realize what a position Mr. McConnell's father, J.W. McConnell, whose name I think is on this building, had in Montreal and in Canada. And Elspeth, in a way, was brought into all of that from a totally different world. But again, and the world was different, she was an outsider, and it didn't last very long. And that's the point that I give. We don't know from one day to the next how things are going to change with us. Her husband was not well. He suffered from mental illness and from issues that brings on, and he died at a young age, leaving her a lonely, angry, and reclusive widow in her middle age. That's when I met her. And she wasn't the easiest person to know. And I was a young tax lawyer trying to help with not paying too much tax, which is what I did. And we didn't particularly get on with one another, but I thought, well, I can do the work and I'll look after things. Unfortunately, I should have developed my relationships with her sooner, but they really were very minimal for a long period of time through much of my interesting practice, which saw a lot of interesting and colorful people. Later on, almost as I was at the point of retiring and thinking, well, I haven't done things well with Elspeth. I wish I had gotten to know her better. I wished I'd been closer to her. There was a minor crisis. Without going into the details, if any of you have ever seen that show on TV called Hoarders, that was part of what her life was. It was a very lonely, reclusive, and I think sad life. We came to know one another, and I came to think, I can't let this go on. At that time in my own life, I had my own personal problems. I was retiring. My wife was ill with cancer, and I thought, to get through all of this, if I reach out and help somebody else, maybe things will be better. Well, so it was with Elspeth. We became friends. Things changed. I realized that not only did she have quite a bit of money, but she also had art, which she'd never told me about, because she figured I was too much the Philistine. As she said to me one time, if I told you what art I had, you might just throw it in the fire. And that was the way it was for a long time. But we found out what she had. She had collected with her husband wonderful modern pieces of art in the early 50s, before a lot of the what are today world-recognized artists, had become famous, and that formed part of what we sold over time. She also had her precious collection that she had championed of Northwest Coast art, and when we returned that to the Museum of Anthropology at the University of British Columbia, which accidentally was something we didn't plan to be meaningful, but we were doing it just at the time when Indigenous people were trying to say that they had been in Canada long before anybody else had, and had cultures which had been lost or completely wiped out with disease and colonialism. And that was indeed true, and I was happy enough to see, and you can visit if you go to the Museum of Anthropology, the Elspeth McConnell Masterworks collection, which is a wonderful collection of Northwest Coast art that nobody knew she had. Beyond that, we created the Doggone Foundation. Its name is, no one believes this, because she got cross at me when she was moving into a senior's home that we couldn't have the name she wanted, and she didn't want to have a number for her foundation, and so she was very cross that she couldn't take her dogs with her, and she said, well, just call it the Doggone Foundation, because that's what's happened. The dogs are gone. And that's the basis of that. But we worked together. We became close friends. At one point, she said to me, you know, Paul, you like giving money away. You just take it, and you do with it what you want. And I said, Elspeth, that we're not going to do that. We're going to have a foundation. We're going to have a board. We're going to put good people on it, and we're going to decide what can be done, and we will help medicine and we'll help art. At that time, my colleague, Susan, was someone working in my firm, and as she mentioned to some of you this morning, was also a graduate and also quite a skilled person who helped put on a show at the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts on the women artists of Montreal, the Montreal School, and knew way more about art than I did, and perhaps as much almost as Elspeth did, and became a colleague, and we've been that for the past 10 years. There turned out to be far more money than we ever thought there would be. We have helped universities, we've helped institutions, we've helped medical science and education and art. My own daughter, who lives in New York, is an artist, and in a way, the idea of an internship was because she was doing graduate studies in California and said, well, they give an award out and it enables you to work and stay in the place you were after you graduate. And I thought that might be something that might work with Concordia. Concordia was unbelievably receptive and helpful in getting that going, and we see where we are today. It's expanded, flourished, and is doing more than I could have ever dreamed it would do. That's the point. One doesn't know. I didn't know. I had no clue what I would find out with this quiet, reclusive, and not too easy person. But look at what's been accomplished. All of you can do that. All of us can do it. And in these rather tough times, we have to think that way or we won't get through it. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Annie. Thank you, Graham Carr. Thank you all for being here. Je vais vous parler de Bill McLennan, parce que vous vous posez peut-être la question, qui est Bill McLennan et quelle était sa connexion avec la Fondation Doggone? Elspeth was interested in all forms of art. Literature, photography, she was a photographer herself, film. We'd go to the film, we'd go to the ballet together, we'd go to the theater. I was lucky enough to become an intimate of hers in the last 7 or 8 years of her life, and we had a great time together. But to know Elspeth well was to know of her passion for the art of the Northwest Coast. As a child, she was given a small souvenir totem pole. And when she discovered the real thing on a trip to Vancouver in the late 70s, she described it as having been blown away. On that visit to Vancouver, she started a collection. She bought a shaman's rattle. She began educating herself about the art, picking people's brains, researching the meaning of the images and the stories they told, and they were so important to her. She had open conversations with knowledgeable people and sometimes contemporary artists whose work she admired. And one of the people she regularly spoke to was Bill McLennan, who was then the curator of Northwest Coast art at UBC's Museum of Anthropology, the MOA. When Elspeth eventually invited Bill to come and see her collection, she had archaic and contemporary art, and they were in storage. There was little room in her residence apartment, although she was surrounded by her favorite pieces there. It was Bill's turn to be blown away. He was excited to find pieces that had been lost to the Northwest Coast, some for well over a century. And here they were in a private collection in Montreal. Elspeth continued to grow her collection until her death in 2017, and as you've heard, she gifted it to the MOA. And this is in large part because of Bill McLennan. And because of Bill, this remarkable collection of over 400 pieces is now accessible to the public, and most importantly, to the people of the First Nations on the West Coast. Bill became a director of the foundation, a very valued one, and he was taken from us abruptly last year. But he built a remarkable legacy. He's known warmly and respected up and down the coast of BC and across Canada. He frequently and proactively worked as a consultant on important external First Nations initiatives that have changed the face of Canada. He was one of the designers of the Grand Hall at the Canadian National Museum of History in Gatineau, formerly known as the Museum of Civilization. And he oversaw the installation of the longhouses and totems there. He began his 40-year career with the MOA as a photographer and project manager. Interestingly, he discovered that infrared light could make visible long eroded and faded painting compositions that were often on the fronts of Indigenous houses and on blanket boxes and bentwood boxes. And from that discovery, he co-wrote a book called The Transforming Image, Painted Arts of Northwest Coast First Nations, with his colleague Karen Duffick, that was published in the year 2000. This book is well sought after, impossible to get your hands on, and actually the Doggone Foundation is working with a publisher to republish an edition of the book, because this book is one of the most influential and multi-award winning books on Northwest Coast art. And just before his death, Bill completed another book with his colleague Karen Duffick and Jordan Wilson called Where the Power Is, Indigenous Perspectives on Northwest Coast Art. It's hot off the press. It's not on the shelves yet, but several pieces from Elspeth's collection, I think about 30 of them, are actually in the book. So if you get your hands on it, it will be a prize. Bill fostered learning and scholarship, and he held himself to the highest standards of curatorship. And in his memory, we're thrilled to introduce the Bill McLennan Northwest Coast Travel Award, which as was mentioned, will be granted annually to a full-time graduate student of fine arts for the opportunity to travel to BC and to work with an institution to expand their knowledge and understanding of Northwest Coast art and the culture of the Indigenous people. Le récipient de cette bourse n'aura pas la chance de rencontrer Bill personnellement, c'est sûr, mais ils vont venir à le connaître très bien. Ils seront les chanceux.
Merci infiniment, Paul. Merci, Susan, pour vos témoignages et pour votre soutien. Je veux dire aussi que c'est vraiment précieux d'apprendre ce que vous nous avez partagé sur Bill et sur Elspeth. Merci beaucoup. J'ai maintenant le plaisir de vous présenter une vidéo qui met en vedette quelques participantes de notre programme de stage. Internships and fieldwork are very, very crucial to learning and research in the arts. The testimonials you're about to hear convey the true impact of the Doggin Foundation's commitment to empower our students with hands-on experience at an array of cultural and community organizations. Écoutons ce que les stagiaires et les fournisseurs de stages ont à dire. Pouvez-vous lancer la vidéo, s'il vous plaît?
Having the Elspeth McConnell Fine Arts Award has been really life-changing because it allowed me to really expand on this project idea, build a lot of new relationships and connections. I heard about the opportunity and really wanted to work on my project, Pedalbox Gallery, bring it to Montreal. Getting this award has allowed me to bring it out to the public and share art with people.
I read a little bit about who Elspeth McConnell is, and I was really inspired, and I felt like my overall mission is very aligned with what the mission of the Elspeth McConnell Award was, contributing to the society, using the arts, well-being of individuals, just a humanitarian perspective that I really resonated with.
Ça fait 3 ans qu'on est en partenariat avec Concordia. Il y a des étudiants de la faculté d'art qui appliquent pour une bourse, puis cette bourse-là nous permet d'avoir un stagiaire à chaque année. Donc là, c'est la 3e année qu'on a quelqu'un qui nous aide. Puis l'important pour nous, c'est vraiment d'avoir quelqu'un qui va compléter l'équipe. Donc souvent, c'est des habiletés que nous n'avons pas.
My main instrument is voice, and I've been singing North Indian classical music since I was a kid. I wanted to do an internship at a hospital where I could work with children with mental health needs. It really benefited me, and I think my clients, my patients as well.
We made care packages of creative reuse materials and brought them on the bike trailer to various parks in Point St. Charles and distributed them, as well as encouraged people to make art with us. It gave people an opportunity to create social connections and perhaps look at the spaces they're familiar with, like a different perspective.
Quelqu'un qui se joint à l'équipe puis qu'il participe vraiment comme au même niveau que tous les membres de l'organisation.
So it was a real iterative process, not only technically with the trailer build, but also with building lots of relationships. So I can see this continuing to expand in the future.
Because I had that financial freedom, really, it allowed me to lean into my art and not be inhibited or overwhelmed. It was kind of validating for me and for my clients to just feeling fulfilled by that experience of using music.
C'est ça, c'est comme essentiel que Concordia fasse partie de nos partenaires.
Thank you, Christine, Aprajita, and Stefania for those wonderful testimonials. Notre programme se poursuit maintenant avec une vidéo mettant en vedette 2 membres clés de l'équipe de direction de notre université. As Vice President Advancement, 2 times Concordia graduate, Paul Chesser oversees the campaign for Concordia Next Gen Now. Anne Whitelaw, 3 fois diplômée et professeure d'histoire de l'art, est la vice-rectrice exécutive aux affaires académiques de Concordia. Let's hear from our 2 leaders now. Can we roll the video, please?
We take great pride in celebrating a major gift for students and to the Campaign for Concordia Next Gen Now.
This new support from the Doggone Foundation demonstrates the extent to which our partner believes in the potential of next-gen teaching, learning, and research. The Foundation's commitment to Concordia, which began in 2018 with an initial gift of $200,000 in support of fine arts student internships, honors the late Elspeth McConnell, a benefactor who recognized the transformative power of the arts.
The newly expanded Elspeth McConnell Awards will allow for more fine arts students to embark on meaningful internships at leading arts and cultural organizations. These real-world experiences will help our students find their place in establishing fruitful careers and practices.
With its combined gift of $2.5 million to our Faculty of Fine Arts, the Doggone Foundation is sparking fresh opportunities for young talent while supporting organizations that help our communities thrive.
We thank the Doggone Foundation for its generosity on behalf of students, society, and the Campaign for Concordia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Merci Paul, merci Anne. This concludes our celebration of the Doggons Foundation gift to the Campaign for Concordia. Au nom de l'université et de son équipe de direction, je remercie chaleureusement Paul Marchand et Susan Avon et tout le monde à la Fondation Doggone pour leur soutien et contribution à la présentation de cet événement. Je suis honorée d'avoir été votre animatrice. Merci d'avoir assisté à cette célébration en direct et virtuelle et je vous souhaite une excellente journée.